Alright folks, this is Zirk and welcome you beautiful, highly intelligent, honorable viewers who are hitting that like button right now. And I guess welcome to the Shirleys as well. Because surely they wouldn't, but they always do. The defenders of the indefensible. I've been planning on making a video for a while about this. And Xbox, it was that last push. I actually already had a last push earlier, but I'll go over that in a minute here. And that's that we're actually in a recession of gaming. I know that doesn't, you're like, what? I thought gaming was more successful. Trust me. Let me explain what's going on here. And this is caused by the inflated cost of games, that games are more expensive now than they've ever been before. Gaming in general is. And you're like, what? No, but isn't it adjusted for inflation? No, that's a myth. I've covered that before. And I was working on covering it in a new way before my computer broke and I crushed part of my hand and I delayed a bunch of stuff for a long time. But during that time, great minds think alike, because this fella named NintenDeen covered part of what I wanted to talk about, except not the recession part, not the lack of growth and things like that, but he just covered the myth of the inflation stuff. If you look here, game consoles are not cheaper today adjusted for inflation, and gaming is not cheaper today part 2 adjusted for inflation. I'm gonna link those two videos in the description below. They're good watches. But I'm talking about something a bit different, even though I am going over those topics. So let's kick this off by looking at this article where Phil Spencer's talking about the lack of growth and the price of games. We've raised the price of games. We found ways of getting more money per player. You remember me talking about building wide versus tall? They're admitting to building tall. I think at some point you reach a peak that, and frankly, it can go to some places that are manipulative that I'm not a big fan of. Oh, wow. I don't think we're doing good enough job finding new players. Are you? I wonder why. How did you used to find new players? Was it really low prices? I think so. Let's pick consoles as a good example. We found 200 million global households that will play console games, and that number really hasn't changed in the last 5 to 6 years. So 6 years ago, so then what happened a little bit before 6 years ago that would make console sales start to stagnate? I don't know. Can anybody remember what's been happening around that time? Could it be that video games started to get really political and preachy and their quality started to go down too? Oh, that's so weird. So they wanted to give you an inferior garbage experience that focused on the message rather than the quality and charge insane prices for it. And they're like, oh my God, why aren't our customer base growing anymore? Ooh. And rather than stop making political games and start focusing on fun games and stop charging so much for games, they're like, let's just increase the prices of our garbage. How about we do that instead? They want to have all these microtransactions. They want to raise the price of games to these ridiculous numbers, and then at the same time, make crappier games. Well, let me give you a little hint on how the world works. If you charge $60 for a game, people have $60 expectations. If you charge $80 for a game, people have $80 expectations. The more you charge, the more quality people want. You charge for those games, you charge hundreds of dollars for microtransactions, they spend all this money, they get a crap experience, and then they don't buy your next game. They don't tell their friends, hey, you also have to buy this console that I have. The game industry used to grow by being a cheap, affordable way to have fun. The game industry grew to the titan it is today, to the biggest entertainment industry in the entire world by being affordable. All right, so let's look at something here. There's this little website here, VG Sales, that lists the annual sales. We're going to go through the PlayStation here. We're going to look at the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 and the annual sales. I've used AI to make a quick summary, and here we go. But let's start with the PlayStation 1. So the PlayStation 1, if you look at the sales, this is the units sold by millions. So 2 million sold, 4 million sold, 6 million sold. If you notice here, US retail price, it launched in the US at $300 and it sold about 2 million units. It dropped to $100, doubled the sales. It dropped to $150 and its sales went up by a third. It dropped by another $20. And look what happened to the sales. It dropped by another $20. Look what happened to the sales. This is not unique to PlayStation 1, by the way. This is pretty much all consoles throughout history. You know what happens when you adjust these numbers here for inflation? That's right, the consoles were way cheaper then, even adjusted for inflation, than they are today. Here's the PlayStation 2. Here we go. Look at this. $299. They dropped the price to $199. Whoa, look at the sales. They dropped the price again. Look at the sales. Look at the sales go up as they drop the price. Isn't it weird how the vast majority of people who buy the console buy it when it becomes affordable and cheap? Oh, that's so weird. Now let's look at the PS3. Oh boy, that was one heck of a launch there. Look at those numbers. Woohoo, that's expensive. Oh, but then they dropped the price. The 60 gigabyte model became the same price as the 20 gigabyte model, and an 80 gigabyte model launched at the original price. And what happened? Tripled the sales. They dropped the price again. And what happened when they dropped the price again? They increased their sales. What happened when they dropped the price again? Record-breaking sales. Remember how people were saying the PS3 is horrible and the Xbox 360 is destroying it? Well, the PlayStation 3 outsold the Xbox by the end of its generation because of the price cuts. Look at these sales numbers. So, actually, adjusted for inflation, gaming was cheaper then than it is now. Because the majority of people who bought games did it when it was affordable. This is how they built an empire, how video games became the most popular entertainment industry in the entire world, was by growing this number here by making good, fun games at an affordable price. That's gone, baby. That's gone. So what they're doing now is we found ways to get more money per player. That's right. Phil Spencer himself is admitting what they're doing. They, for some random reason that they can't figure out, can't increase the number of household console owners because they're too fucking expensive now and your games are shit. So instead, they're milking the ones that are already there. But guess what? The more you milk them, the more you lose. A crash is coming. The gaming industry is in a semi sort of recession in that there's no more growth in households that have consoles anymore. And rather than doing the intelligent thing, which is following the same business model that has worked for 30 years, they're like, nah, milk them bitches. Well, here it is. I really don't got much else to say. Go ahead and watch NintenDeen's game consoles are not cheaper today. He goes over more of these numbers than I did. He spends 2 whole videos, 18 minutes, 34 minutes. He spends 2 whole videos talking about this. But he doesn't go into the stagnation. That's what I've been trying to talk about. That's the whole thing, is that the industry is not growing wide anymore. They're trying to grow tall. And that's a stupid idea. So I really don't know what else to say. The information's here. Check out the VG sales charts for all the consoles, and then look up when the price drops happen. You compare it yourself, and you'll see the majority of people who play games at an affordable entry price. Especially now, we don't have game rentals anymore. Holy crap! No more game rentals. Garbage games, overpriced. People are becoming wary of that, and you're like, oh. We don't know. We're getting about 200 million households have consoles. What do we gotta do now? Make better games and drop the prices, bitch. This is Xeric, and I'm out.